Hi, I'm Aoife Corey,
Hi, I'm Niamh Byrne and you're listening to the Her Sport Energia AIL rugby show.
brought to you by Energia. Think of the possibilities. Hello and welcome back to the Her Sport Energia AIL rugby show brought to you by Energia. My name is Alanna Cunnane and I'm getting a bit sad here because I'm joined by Hannah Tyrrell for probably the final time of the season, Hannah.
Yeah, I know. Look, we've had a good run.
That's true. So we're here to give you the Energia AIL final preview. UL Bohs take on Railway on April 28th, Sunday, in a double header with the men's at the Aviva Stadium, no less. Surely that'll be a fantastic occasion, Hannah, and especially a big stadium, a double header with the men's. It's going to be a brilliant day.
Yeah, look, obviously it's a huge step in the growth of the women's AIL. First time ever that it's going to be in the Aviva Stadium, and I think that's, it's about time. The women's competition for so long has been a really good spectacle, and I think, the men's have been in the Aviva for a number of years now. Why not have it? And I think it's really good parity and equity for this league to have it there. It's such a good occasion. The men get great support in, and I hope that can kind of transfer over to the women's game as well, so we can build a really good atmosphere. For the players themselves, many of them have never played in the Aviva. We've only ever had one women's international match there back in 2014 against Italy, and I think, for them, it's just such a huge occasion. Not only obviously have they a chance to win an All-Ireland medal, for their club, but they get to do it on the Aviva Stadium, where many of them will go and watch Leinster play or watch Ireland play, and it's fantastic, and long may it continue. I hope it's the first of many, and it's a tradition that begins to build for the women's, and something for teams in the future to go, we want to be at the Aviva Stadium for the league final next May or April, whenever it is.
It'll be brilliant for sure to see them showcase their talents there, see all the fans out with their flags, their jerseys, what have you. And one thing to consider though, obviously it being such a big occasion, a big stadium, big pitch, new surroundings for everybody, will that play in at all? As a player, would you be thinking about that?
I think it'll vary from player to player. Some people get nervous before games, others don't. Some people will approach it as a game like any other, regardless of what the occasion is or where it's being played. Other people will embrace it as being a big game and kind of will, draw courage from the atmosphere and energy from the crowd and the fact that they get to play in the Aviva. So it's very much a mentality thing, player to player, team to team, whatever way it's approached by coaches. Will they not take it as a negative, but kind of see it as, this is very nerve-wracking for me and I don't know how it's going to go? Or will it be, I'm really excited to play, really looking forward to it, pitch is going to be in perfect conditions, where else would you get it? Let's go have a bit of fun. So either way, it's an exciting occasion for these players and for women's rugby in Ireland in general. But personally, I'm one who gets nervous before a match, but also would find the prospect of big games like that really exciting and an opportunity to showcase my talents against what is usually the best players in the country. And so therefore, if you come out on top, you're really helping your side in that regard.
And especially considering the fact that it's going to be such a close decider, you'd imagine, because even the Energia AIL itself came down to just one singular point between Railway Union and UL Bohs. So it'll be interesting to see, will that be the case again this weekend, Hannah?
Yeah, look, I think it'll be a tightly contested affair. I do wonder about the Aviva Stadium and it being a large pitch, will there be an awful lot of space there? The last time these teams met, there was an awful lot of tries scored. So will we see a high scoring kind of counter-attack type of game? Or will it be a lot more kind of tactical, slowing it down, taking a couple of points here and there and being really, really tight and trying not to let any tries scored as opposed to that free-flowing contest? I hope from a neutral's point of view that it is a free-flowing, really exciting game that gets people tuned into watching it. But either way, it's going to be brilliant.
Before we get right into the nitty-gritty there of what we can expect from each of the sides, one thing I wanted to ask you, if we're trying to encourage people to get out and go to these games, buy your tickets by the way, why would you say it'd be worthwhile for people to go to this spectacular Energia AIL finals day, Hannah?
Just because it's two of the best teams in the country. Women's rugby is on the up. There are some incredibly talented players being showcased at this game, and it's an opportunity if there's a club in your area, particularly when those teams are from your area, to go and get involved in that, because I think rugby is such a community game. It can be a great way to build all those relationships and kind of link it back. And you know, both of these clubs, as I said, have a history of winning this, and so it's an exciting game. It's just like the men's game. The talent is there, and as I said, there's some really good talented showcase players that'll be on showcase, and it should be a really, really good game.
Yeah, a brilliant calibre of players to watch, and then especially considering as well, we've seen it throughout the season, so many of these players go on and play for, be it the Celtic Challenge or Ireland or whoever it might be. So definitely worthwhile getting your tickets and getting out to the game. To get into some of the more tactical or analysis side of it then, looking at UL Bohs' last few games in the Energia AIL before this game, they took on Ballincollig, winning 41-7. Railway Union, they lost out 43-22. That'll have to be obviously the big one we're going to have to dissect. And then UL Bohs also won over Old Belvo 19-10. Railway then, on the other hand, won over Wicklow 72-12. Old Belvo 34-18. Then they won out victorious 43-22 over UL Bohs. And finally, they won against Blackrock 17-12. So coming into this, obviously UL Bohs were unbeaten. Railway changed that fact, Hannah. Will that be a bit of mind games playing in there, do you think?
It could be. Definitely will be for Railway anyway. They'll go into that final full of confidence, knowing that they've beaten UL Bohs, knocked them off that undefeated kind of perch that they'd been sitting on, showed them that they're not invincible, probably showed up a few weaknesses in the UL Bohs team, and maybe put a little bit of doubt into some of the UL Bohs players that, you know, as things don't always go as planned and all the rest. So definitely for Railway, they'll know we're well capable of beating them. We've done it before. We know what works against them and maybe what doesn't. They've also showed us some weaknesses we had in our game. Can we kind of shore that up a little bit so that won't be a factor for us kind of going into it? And that's the way definitely Stephen Costello will be pushing that narrative, and all those senior players will be pushing that through. Plus, Railway have obviously been in a final much more recently than UL Bohs, and they'll be kind of looking to obviously not lose two finals in a row, but, you know, show that they, this season, while they haven't been very consistent, they're still the best team. UL Bohs, on the other hand, haven't been in a final since 2018, but I think they're looking to win their 14th title overall in the Energia AIL. You know, so they have a vast, rich cultural history, and, you know, Fiona Hayes has been part of some of those winning teams, and, you know, she knows exactly what her team needs to do to get over the line. They have been the best team, the most consistent over the league, but now that they're in the final, none of that's worth a damn, really, unless they can kind of bring some of that momentum and that consistency over 80 minutes into the Aviva Stadium for that final. We will never know until post game whether they went into that Railway Union league game a couple of weeks ago, knowing that they had already qualified. They definitely had a much different approach in the last couple of games. Railway needed to win big, and try kind of keep racking up the points to make sure they were in this final. Whereas UL Bohs, because of their consistency and performances over the season, had it wrapped up early on. So we definitely need to consider, did they go into some of those last couple of games knowing they didn't have to win them all and maybe could rest a few players, or could tactically make a few changes, or could they try out a few different things and knowing they wouldn't all come to fruition, and that the results at the end of the day didn't really matter. You know, and knowing Fiona Hayes, as I said before, she'll have a few things up her sleeve. She will absolutely want to win. You know, there's still players playing with Railway that she would have played against, the likes of Lindsay Pete, and she definitely wants to get one up on them. You know, and to win one as a player and then as a coach for her would be pretty special. So that's something she's definitely pushing for. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of tactics going on behind the scenes, I've no doubt. I'm sure they're both teams are conjuring up plays that maybe haven't been seen before. Definitely didn't want to show their full hands in that previous league meeting. So they'll be approaching this game with a lot of hard work and earnest, but definitely knowing that the game that went before wasn't the be all and end all, and doesn't mean that that same result is going to, you know, happen again.
We touched on that a little bit actually last week as well, you know, holding your cards close to your chest, maybe saving a few big ones for the big day. Yeah,
look, and both teams, in fairness, in that last league meeting, they both had out fairly strong teams, and like nobody sets out to lose a match, and all that sort of stuff. But there definitely probably wouldn't be that same intensity that we will see in this final. There wasn't as much at stake, particularly for UL Bohs in that game. And so I think the physicality will have risen, twofold for this final. Little things been tightened up on both sides. But for me, this game will probably be won in the forwards for both teams, just in terms of being able to free up the space and the time for their backs to go off and do things. UL Bohs will be acutely aware of the dangers of the likes of Niamh, Byrne, Maddie Agberg, and what they can do. And so they'll be looking at ways to try and shut those down. And for UL Bohs, like Railway, be looking at obviously Kay Flannery. If they can shut her down at 10, does the ball go out to the back? And so therefore Chisholm Aguirre can't be the danger woman that she has been all season. Can they stop Chloe Pearse breaking off the back of a ruck at 8? And they'd be very acutely aware of that. And so both teams will have various tactics and kind of key players that they're making sure will not have their best game on opposite teams, so that they can flourish it in whatever game plan they have.
Those key players we'll certainly come back to in just a second, but just to mention, the table finished up, as we mentioned at the top, UL Bohs on 72, Railway on 71, so very, very tight. And just an interesting note as well, Railway had a scoring difference of plus 597, while Bohs stood at 434, which is still phenomenal. But would that suggest, I suppose, a slight leaning towards Railway there in the firepower and the defence of the Dublin side?
Yeah, you look at it both ways. Yeah, absolutely. The firepower that they have, the ability to be able to score that many tries and then have someone who can kick so many conversions as Nikki Caughey did. But also, would look at defence a little bit, that their defence was maybe slightly tighter and a little bit more resolute and steadfast. Again, it can be hard to look at that sometimes because, with UL Bohs, because of their consistency over the course of the tournament, they might have been winning a lot of games by enough and then decided, we're going to give other players an opportunity for the last 20 minutes or the second half, and maybe their defence wasn't quite as good or their attack wasn't quite as free-flowing. So it's hard to read into that over time, but stats would suggest that Railway do have a little bit more firepower in attack and are a little bit more physical and aggressive in defence. But as I said, knockout rugby changes things. 180-minute performance, you don't have the course of a season to get things right anymore. And, this will just come down to, on the day, who can put out the best performance. I think both teams should be looking into this. And yes, obviously they want to win, but don't focus on the result. Focus on the performance and you will get the outcome that you desire, which will end up being a winning result in that. But knockout rugby does funny things to people and funny things to teams. So we'll just have to see what happens on the day. And as I said last week, the bounce of a rugby ball can change the entire course of a game. And, one kick and someone thinks the bounce is going straight to them and it goes over the line can be massive in influencing a game. And it's who takes advantage of momentum swings and purple patches and all the rest.
It's not even to mention as well that obviously UL Bohs were top of the table for a good lot of the season, so they're by merit as well, and it's definitely going to be a stellar showcase. So they'll be looking to bring in that confidence to this game, Hannah. So you picked your team of the year last week. Yep. Lots of features from both of these sides. I'm sure they'll come in again here as to the key players in the final, but who should we be watching out for on each of these?
Look, I think 1 to 15, both teams will have incredible players, and I think there's going to be some brilliant matchups across the two teams. And during the course of the game, we'll see some flourish and obviously some struggle, and vice versa, depending on how the game's going. But obviously for me, if Lindsay Peat lines out at number 8, there'll be a huge head-to-head battle there with Chloe Pearse. Know each other very, very well from their time in international camp when, ironically enough, both were playing front row at that time. But they'll be, going physically head-to-head in that regard, and I think that'll be huge. For me, battle of the 10s then, if Kay Flannery's playing 10, you have a young and up and coming 10 against an experienced head in Nikki Caughey, and that'll be incredible. And as I said, dictating the game there, Similarly enough, Abbey Saltertown at 9, and Ailsa Hughes, it looks like it'll be at 9. Again, that kind of youth, even though Abbey's been around a couple of years now, experience of Ailsa. I think 9-10 will be huge for both teams in kind of conducting the way both these teams want to play. Can you shuffle your pack to do what you want, and can you get the ball out in time to your backs and your firepower? Obviously, I've mentioned Chisholm Aguero, Maddie Agberg. They're going to get a half full of tries if it's an open and free scoring game. But, you know, for me, set piece is going to be huge. Who can control their own lineouts and get the platform to attack off it? Who can steal or disrupt as much as, you know, and so for me, hooker and second row on both teams will be huge. But just all across the park, it's so hard to call. I think matchups would be massive for this. Who can, particularly at set piece, get a really good attacking platform, or who can put in the best defensive set to stop the flow of another team.
And you mentioned matchups there. Coaching wise, the matchups are Fiona Hayes v Stephen Costello. That'll definitely bring its own element to the game as well. As you say, Hannah, there's plenty of tactics on show there.
Yeah, look, like both of those have been in the league a couple of years. Stephen Costello with Sutonians before this, and obviously Fee Hayes with Ballincollig. Stephen Costello has been a community rugby officer for a number of years with Leinster, so he obviously has a wealth of rugby knowledge. Fee Hayes, former Irish international, has been involved with Munster Rugby for coaching and for playing for a number of years. So they both definitely bring their own kind of playing style, definitely bring their own personalities into it and the brand of rugby that they like to play. You know, so it will be very exciting to see. As I said, I'm interested to see what kind of tactics they bring. Do they go kind of ultra defensive and try and keep it really tight, or do we see that brand of attacking rugby from both sides, or a mix of both? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, first of all, teams named and where people line up, because there's been a lot of kind of variation in players lining out in different positions. And then on the day, conditions will have a massive impact. You know, weather unfortunately here hasn't been great, but hopefully we get a dry, sunny day. And then can the players step up on the big day? And you never know, like players I haven't mentioned can step up and surprise us, and that's the beauty of it.
You mentioned the players there. We'll be hearing from them now. We can't wait to see what happens in this one. So we said we had to chat to them ahead of it. We'll catch you after this. So, Niamh, Byrne, the first ever double-header men's women's in the Aviva Energia AIL final. Excited?
Very, yeah. Really, really cool. I'm excited to be here.
How does it feel to be standing there now and taking it all in?
Impressive, daunting, but I think it's a great occasion, and we're up for it. We're really excited to be here.
And especially for the men's and the women's to be on that double header, what does that kind of mean, do you think, for women's rugby?
Yeah, I mean, I think it shows that we're progressing. We're obviously first time in Aviva, first time double header, and hoping that more people will come around and watch maybe both games, but definitely a move in the right direction.
Do you think it'll have an impact, the big stadium? I know we were chatting there, it feels so big. It can't be that much bigger than the other pitches in the grand scheme of things, given the rules, but it does feel it.
It feels big, but I think the second that first whistle goes, it'll be a good old classic Bohs v Railway game, so I'm sure we'll get right back into it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so obviously a classic Bohs Railway game, as you say. Who do you think are the favourites heading into the weekend?
Oh, I have no idea, honestly. I don't know which is better. If it's better to go in as the favourite or the underdog, but either way, I think it'll be closely contested and it should be a good match.
It's honestly really hard to say though, because as you say, like UL Bohs had such a season, nearly going unbeaten, but you guys were the ones to stop them. So there's such a storyline even that way.
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, I wouldn't read too much into it. I think they've been consistently really good. I think we've been building nicely. Obviously, we've got a squad rotation this year, new coach, etc. But I think it'll be a close game, and I'm really looking forward to it.
And obviously, last year there was the disappointment. Will you guys channel that now this time around?
Yeah, I think it'll always be in the back of some people's minds, but I think eyes are very much looking ahead to Sunday, doing our prep, final bits this week, and we will hopefully hit the ground running.
With that in mind, we were talking about there, you guys played quite recently and came out on top. Can you read very much into that, or do you have to kind of leave it behind you?
I think we'll probably leave it behind us. I think it's good to know that it can be done, but I think both teams will come out fighting on Sunday, so we will have to see who ends up on top.
Definitely, and obviously you yourselves had a great season. Quite funny in one way, like you say, obviously UL Bohs were top for quite a lot of it, but you kept plucking away there, and your last run-in of games especially showcased an exceptional run of form.
Yeah, I think we definitely started off slow, but we built into it. We had a few girls away with Celtic Cup and whatnot, but yeah, I think we're beginning to find our form, hopefully in time for Sunday.
I know Hannah on the Energia AIL show was raving about a couple of railway players, in particular Maddie Egerberg. She's had a big impact on this team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Maddie, she came from Canada. She has been tremendous, great ball carrier, great person to have around. Really love having her on the team. So delighted she got that shout out. Very well deserved.
On their side of things, then, who are you going to be keeping an eye out for?
I think Chloe Pearse herself. She stands near me. But I think we know the Bohs girls well. We play against them regularly. It's the first fixture we look for when we're a big outburst every year. So I think it'll be a good game. We'll have our eyes on everyone. But yeah.
We talked about there the occasion of it all, the big stadium, big pitch, big day. Do you think that'll bear in on anyone's minds at all? Like, just kind of, do you take it in your stride, or are you excited? How do you channel it all in?
I think you do have to take it in your stride. I think it's bigger as I stand in the stadium. It is really exciting, and hopefully we'll channel that positive energy.
Definitely, and you mentioned that there are quite a few players throughout the season away on Celtic Challenge or whatever it might be. Obviously there's the Six Nations ongoing as well, and that kind of has different impacts on different teams. That's going to be the day before, and then you guys then are on the Sunday.
Yeah, and obviously there are girls, I think, on both sides that will probably play on Saturday that you selfishly love to have on Sunday, and vice versa. But I think as long as everyone's getting out, getting good game time, be it with the Irish team on Saturday or here on Sunday, that's the best you can do, and it should be good either way.
And then finally then, Niamh, what would it mean for you guys to win the Energia AIL at the weekend?
Oh, it means the world. It's great. We've been here a few times. We obviously weren't as successful last year as we hoped, so it'd be a nice one to walk away with, but all look to Sunday.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for joining us on the Her Sport Energia AIL Rugby Show.
Great, thank you.
Chloe Pearse, looking forward to the first ever double-header men's and women's Energia AIL final in the Aviva this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely buzzing now, just kind of getting here today kind of really makes it all very real. But yeah, I know the girls are super excited. We've a big week still ahead of us of training, but just can't wait to get out here now on Sunday and run out with the beat.
Standing there now, can you imagine it all, the crowd, the big pitch, playing out there with all your teammates?
Yeah, I can imagine the squealing and the roaring when they see it, but as I said before, like, once you cross that whitewash, it's only 4 lines, same as if we're at home in Enniscorthy, so hopefully the occasion won't get us.
It's a funny one. When I was chatting to Niamh there, I was asking her, who do you think are the favourites for this weekend? It's hard to call.
Yeah, it is, I suppose. I suppose we probably would have been the favourites up until that game 2 weeks ago, to be honest, but I suppose now they've thrown a spanner in the works, and we've heard that maybe we're not the favourites anymore, but that only riles us up. We're only looking forward to rise to that challenge.
Definitely, because you guys were leading basically the whole season, and then that game, can you read too much into it? I know we were chatting about it on the show during the week. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, it was, I suppose, and look, I think what it showed was what they can do if we allow them to do so. We were a little undercooked. We didn't play, I won't say we didn't play particularly well. Like, we scored 4 tries in a game. We didn't play well, and we scored 4 great tries at that, but we'll take a lot from it. I'm hoping we'll take more from it than they did, but we did learn, like, if we allow them to play like they did that day, they'll run 40 points and easy.
Co-host Hannah Tyrrell was saying that she reckons could be a few mind games there. Fiona Hayes will have a few tricks up her sleeve, no doubt.
Well, I don't know where she's pulling them from. I don't believe in all that kind of caper. She's not Warren Gatland, the other way. So I don't know what kind of mind game she's going to play. We'll come out, we'll play as we are, as we've done all season. I don't think we'll get too interested in that kind of thing.
Love that. She's not Warren Gatland.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah, then looking forward to that. Obviously, you talked about the spanner and the works they threw in. Would you be kind of looking at that coming into this day, especially considering, like we mentioned, you guys were leading for all the season, and then for it to come down to this one day, the stakes are so high?
Yeah, it is, but I suppose that's, we aim for that all season, especially this season. It was a little bit different with it being a top 2 finish. It was nice to actually qualify a little bit early, but our aim was still to finish top, so we could have actually lost that game and they could have passed us out, so thankfully they didn't. But I think we'll be conscious of that game, but we're going to focus on ourselves. We know what we can bring. We know if we keep ball in hand and have that continuity of play, what our speedsters out wide can do, what the pack will bring up front. So while we'll maybe have a look at them, I think our biggest focus is going to be on us, and that's what will allow us to do what we do best.
Definitely, and with that in mind, do you reckon it'll be sort of a tactical, cagey, low-scoring affair, or given the big pitch and all the open space, it could be the other way around either?
If I was a betting woman, I'd say it'll be 20 plus points each. I do think that, two teams who like to play a lot of ball, who leave a lot of space, kick a lot, but yeah, I'd say it's going to be a high scoring game.
And no doubt a few tries for UL Bohs in that.
Yeah, hopefully. So yeah, maybe a few penalties. In fairness, we both have two quite competent 10s to kick penalties in front of the post, so I think we'll both know that threat if we give away penalties, that we'll be punished. So there's that aspect of it again as well. When it's a final, you have to take a point if they're there.
And then obviously the elephant in the room, I guess, as well, obviously the Six Nations is the day before. Yeah. You guys have standout performers that have done so well in the Energy AIL that they made it to that level. It's a bit disappointing, I suppose, that they're not here for the big day on Sunday.
It is, but we can only control what we can control. And, if they're there and they're released, they're there and they're released. And if they're not, we have to get on with it, like we've done all season. It will be a pity for them, but, hopefully they'll show up and they'll enjoy the night out afterwards regardless. We've been a team all season, and that won't change Sunday.
Definitely, and you can see that blend of youth and experience in your side. It's really been so prolific all season long.
Yeah, it has. It's been brilliant. The young ones, in fairness, they're stone mad. Some of the older ones are stone mad too, but it is great. Like, they just bring such an energy, and then the older girls just add some experience. It's just such a good group to be involved with. I've loved every minute of it all season. They're great crack, and hopefully Sunday will be no different. We'll come, we'll play hard, but we'll have fun while we're doing it.
The cherry on top then, Chloe, what would it mean for UL Bohs to win the Energy AIL on Sunday?
Oh, honestly, it would just mean so much. I feel like this season we have worked so incredibly hard, and not that Railway haven't. I'm sure they have as well. But it would just mean everything to us. It's been a long time. We've been building this squad. We've brought those young players in. We've had hard losses along the way. We've hopefully learned from them. It would mean absolutely everything to ourselves and the club just to get one back.
Brilliant. Well, best of luck and thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much.
Great to hear from the players there in the build up to this monumental game. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Hannah. Your big prediction for the day?
Okay. I think, I hope this is a tight game. The calibre players there should make it really ultra competitive. But I think I'd be doing a disservice to UL Bohs if I didn't pick them, considering how well they've been going. They deserve the title or tag of favourites going into this. I don't know if that'll help or hinder them. But yeah, for me, they've been the most consistent team with some standout players. But maybe I've just given a bit of firepower to Railway Union going into the final.
Maybe we should do a take two where you do the other one as well. But yeah, thanks so much to Hannah Tyrrell for joining us for this episode and throughout the season as well. Great analysis throughout, Hannah, so thank you very much. Her Sport will be there in numbers this weekend, so if you do see myself, Deb, or anyone on the team, do pop over and say hello. This will be the second last episode of the Her Sport Energia AIL rugby show. There will of course be a final special coming your way soon, and we'll be capturing content on the day there for that. So as I say, pop over if you see us. For now though, we hope to see you there. As I said, we'll be there. And thanks for joining us here today on the Her Sport Energia AIL rugby show.